Hi, welcome to another episode of Teddy Talk. I am joined here today with Lily from El Centro. I want to give her a moment to introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Teddy, for inviting me. So excited to be in this shared space with you today, even though it's a virtual space. Hi, everyone. I'm LILLY PINEDO GANGAI. I serve as the program director of the Chicanx Latinx Student Success Center here at San Jose State University, also known as Centro. My pronouns are she and her. And I've been at San Jose State now for almost 8 years. So January will be my 8th year here on our beautiful campus and in different roles. So I haven't always been in this role as the director of Centro. My first position actually on campus was that of an academic advisor. So I worked with the Office of Academic Advising and Retention Services. So hence academic advising is near and dear to my heart. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as I share some tips and strategies for how to be successful. But I did that for about 3.5 years. But at the same time, I was a member of the Chicanx Latinx Student Success Task Force. So Centro did not exist. So Centro is going to be coming up on its 5th anniversary this upcoming January. So maybe we'll have a party. We'll have a pachanga to celebrate our 5-year anniversary. So we used to be what was called a task force that was comprised of students, of faculty, of staff that came together to identify programming, support services, initiatives to support our Latinx, Latina, Latino community here at San Jose State in the absence of a physical centro that had not existed on our campus before. So when I arrived in my role as an advisor, I was very fortunate that the task force had just started to roll out. And so I was a member of that amazing team that was instrumental in helping us shape and form the physical centro that exists today. And so I really want to make sure that I credit all the amazing people, my colleagues, including our amazing students that were pivotal in making sure that this center existed, that this support service existed on our campus. More so our students. Our students protested, they rallied, they identified a variety of unique needs that weren't being met by our university. And so because of them, the Centro exists today. And so I think that history is really important. I was a history major. And so for me, history is really important. And so that's what makes part of our San Jose State history is the work and the leadership of our own students. Their voices matter. Again, I'll talk more about that later, but just wanted to give credit to our students and to our staff and faculty that helped shape and create and establish the Centro.
Thank you for that history. And I think it's important to understand where your center came from and how it was developed. Let's talk more about the El Centro. What are the services that y'all provide? How do students come and visit y'all? Some of those aspects of it. Can you give us more information?
Yeah, sure. So, and I think in one of the previous episodes, you had interviewed my amazing colleague, Chris Yang. So I was watching that video, right? And very similar to Chris's office mosaic, folks often think that Centro is the student club. We're not a club. We're a department on our campus that we have base funding so that we can offer a variety of programs and support services. Our main mission for Centro is to make sure that our students, every single one of our Latinx students, and whether you identify as Latinx, Latina, Latino, we can have a conversation about the X and Latinx too. That could be maybe like part 2. But any of our students who identify, and even if you don't identify as Latinx or Latina or Latino, maybe you come from a different cultural background, our space is open to anybody. We want our community to feel welcomed. We want our San Jose State community to feel like there's a strong and united sense of community here. And so anyone who's interested in learning more about the Latinx, Latina, Latino community is welcome into our space. And so we're not going to be checking identity cards, right? When you walk in through the front, when folks are coming into the front door, we're not going to be scanning that. But if you have a curiosity, if you feel connected, if you feel welcomed when you come into our physical space, then you are a part of our community. And that goes for not only our students, but also our staff and our faculty, our alumni, and any community members. We work very closely with a lot of community members in the local city, right, in San Jose. So we oftentimes invite some of those folks to come on to our to the center because they offer opportunities for our students. So some of the primary services that we offer are, one, it's the obvious, which is the physical space, right? So the physical central space, small, intimate, maybe about 500 square feet inside of the student union on the main floor. If you're looking at Jamba Juice, do a 180 turn and you'll see Jamba Juice, or you'll see Centro right behind or right across from Jamba Juice. And so students we don't require an application to be a part of Centro. That's another frequently asked question is, do I need to apply to be a part of the Centro community? And I think it's because other programs like EOP, right, or the TRIO program, those do require an application process. Centro does not. So if you're walking by or passing by, you could come right on in and you'll be greeted by one of our student success leaders, which is also an employment opportunity. So if you want to know about that, I could share more about that as well for our students. Both work study and we also, if you don't have work study, that's fine too. We will hire our students, but you'll come in and you'll be greeted. You might be interrogated. Our students are very curious. They want to know more about who's coming into the space. So they might ask you questions like, oh, are you a first year? Are you a transfer student? Where are you coming from? Where's your home? Our students just want to know more about one another. And that's what we do. That's part of community building. And so you'll be greeted by either one of our student success leaders, myself, or Elisa Aquino. I want to give props to Elisa, who's our Centro's program coordinator, who will also be coming up on her 4th year here at San Jose State and in this role as the inaugural program coordinator of Centro. So either Elisa will be in the space or one of our many staff or faculty that also come into the space. So we have professors from all across the colleges that like to be in community with our students. So sometimes our students might be talking to somebody and not even realize that it's a professor. They're just like, hey, we're just chit-chatting it up. And oh, you're a professor in Chicana and Chicano studies, or you're a professor in public health. Like they had no idea, because that's how relaxing everything is, right? It's not as intimidating as when you go to office hours and you have to go meet with a professor and what am I going to ask them about? Or what am I going to ask her about? Coming into the Centro space, any of our faculty are there to answer any questions that students may have related to their academics. It could be related to wanting to know more about graduate school, or it might be just, hey, how was your weekend? What were you doing? What I enjoy sports. I enjoy doing this. So our faculty are amazing. And so they're often there. We also offer opportunities to connect with academic advisors. So I shared that earlier with you all that I used to be an advisor. And in my own personal experience as an undergrad, I never met with an advisor, and there were some repercussions to that. So fast forward years later, Lily's like, we need to make sure that our students get connected to academic advising. And it's not just about course scheduling. I think that's another misconception that our students have, that I'm only going to meet with an advisor when I need to plan out my classes for next semester. And our advisors can offer so much more than that, right? So we really want to foster the importance of healthy relationships with staff, with faculty, with your peers, right? All of that is part of community building. When our students feel connected, when they feel they have a strong sense of community, that enhances your sense of belonging, right? When you can say, hey, I really belong here at this campus. I feel seen, I feel heard. So connecting with our faculty, with the academic advisors that come into the Centro. We also have a CAPS, which is our counseling and psychological services. We have a CAPS counselor that also comes into the Centro space. We don't like to use counselor just because, right, especially in the Latinx community, mental health is very much stigmatized. Again, another conversation to be had later. So we call, and her name is Celinda Miranda. So remember that name. Celinda is what we call her, our fairy godmother. She's our comadre, the madrina of the space. And so she's here to offer our students some personal support, because we all know we need it, especially if we're the first in our families to go to college. There's a lot of pressure with being first gen and navigating a new institution. So Celinda is there to just offer that support. We have a Career Center advisor. So Sandra de Leon is our assigned Career Center advisor. So she comes in and offers drop-in hours. So all these are drop-in. So that's the beauty about the difference between the services that we offer in the space versus what you would get off, in the other spaces, is it's drop-in. You don't have to schedule appointments. At the student success centers, college success centers, sometimes they do offer a drop-in, but most of them are by appointment. Same thing with the career center. Here, it's what they offer 1 hour of service every week, and it's just drop-in basis. And when we might be doing some of that still virtually this upcoming fall semester, just because we understand some of our students might not fully be coming back to campus. So we want to make it accessible. So we will have some drop-in virtually, so students can access those services as well. So those are the main, when I think about human services, that's what we offer. And then we also have programming, and the programming varies. It could be academic based. It could be just community building. It could be identity development, leadership development. We really want to offer holistic support to our students. And so we like to see Centro as a one-stop shop, right? Like a hub to all the different support services that we have on campus, because we understand that our students are busy. They're running around. They're not only students. We understand you might be working full-time in addition to going to school full-time. You might also be caretakers of your family members, whether that's younger siblings or caring for your parents or for somebody else in the family. So we understand that you're balancing or trying to balance multiple responsibilities. And so we try to eliminate folks having to run around all over campus. We're like, okay, how can we provide that service in one location? And so we see ourselves as connectors and a bridge to everybody else on campus. So you get a lot from being engaged with Centro. And again, like I mentioned, you don't have to apply. You just have to take that first step into just wanting to ask for help, and that's another big topic is, sometimes I myself was always afraid to ask for help when I was an undergrad, but we are a strong community. You're not alone. Many of us navigated higher education as undergrads ourselves, and we're here to support our students in collaboration and in partnership with so many of our campus departments, including our amazing housing folks. So thanks again, Teddy, for having us here.
You covered a lot about what y'all do, a small but mighty area. And one of the common themes that you kept on bringing back to is the sense of community and that community building, especially the healthy relationship equals, community building. Let's talk more about that piece. How do our students build community if they're not able to go to your area? How do they build community amongst their peers or build community on this campus?
That's a great question. And I think having moved to this virtual environment has made that a little bit more difficult and challenging for our students. Even for us as staff, that was so hard when we had to move completely virtual, right? That first semester that we were told shut down, because for us, building community is bringing people physically into the space. That's how we function. And so it was a big challenge. We had to figure out creative ways of building community. And I thought I was tech savvy, but not as much as I thought I was. And that's where I thank you so much to Elisa, who's very tech savvy. And she figured out all these tools to help put together some really intentional ways of connecting our students to the Centro. So one of them being through our YouTube channel. So we didn't have a YouTube channel before. So for our students that maybe coming up in the fall will still maybe be doing hybrid learning or maybe completely online, we have created a YouTube channel, which I think we'll put in a handle somewhere in the video here for students to access it. And you'll be able to see all the different programs that we've done and that we've recorded that are now live in this cloud space called YouTube. And so that's one way to see the work that we've done. Another is our social media platform. So we're very active on Instagram. Facebook, I hear, is phasing out. We're still active on Facebook. And then we have our Linktree account. So our link tree is like, again, a one-stop shop for all the virtual links that for services. So if you want to connect with our academic advisors, if you want to connect with our faculty or connect with our career center advisor, you go to our Linktree account and you can connect with folks there. Now, that could be scary, right? Like you're like, okay, I'm going to log into this link and someone's going to be waiting for me on the other end. Yes. And so it was awkward for a lot of us the first couple of years, but I think people have gotten used to that format now. And I would say, to create community in this way, yes, it's uncomfortable, but take risks. I'm going to encourage our students to do something that feels uncomfortable because you just never know the end result, and I'd like to say this type of risk is, for the most part, is a positive risk. You're going to be greeted by somebody on the other end that we trust, someone that we know is going to hold you, reach out to you, be able to, hold you, especially in your times when you feel very vulnerable. I think that's when you're feeling very vulnerable, that's when it's harder for us to reach out for help, but know that we have put together a team that we trust will be able to reach out and just say, I got you. You're not alone. And we'll work through this together. So we're very intentional about the people that we connect you to. And when we say, I'm going to refer you over to housing, I'm not just going to say, go over to the housing office or Res Life team. I'm going to say, you need to go and meet with Teddy, or you need to go and meet with Lena, or you need to go and meet with Candace. We know people because the people connecting piece is so critical and so important, because I could refer you to an office any day and that student can get lost in that journey, right? Whether it's in the virtual space or even physically, you're like, where is this office? Where am I going? Versus let me actually connect you to a person, because then I can go back to that person and say, hey, did so-and-so end up meeting with you? And so we know that we tied the loop there and we just say, okay, that person was connected. So creating community looks different in this virtual world. For those of our students that are going to be coming back to class in person, we invite you to come to the Centro. That, again, it might feel a little awkward because when you walk in, some of the feedback that we've received from our students is, well, I walked by and it was a little intimidating because I saw so many people in there already. They know each other. They're talking. I don't know anyone, so I don't know what to do. And then they flip a Yui and go home. And I'm going to say, take that risk. Not everybody knew everybody when they walked in. And so you're going to find that as soon as you enter the space, you're going to be welcomed. And as I mentioned, you're probably going to be interrogated because our students are just curious to know who makes up the broader Latinx community on our campus. And they really genuinely want to get to know you, because we need our students. I'm saying the Centro needs more of our students because our students inform the programming and the initiatives that we offer. We don't say we need to do this for our students. We don't do that without first being informed by what the students are bringing with them from their homes and their communities to our campus. So we operate off of the strengths, the knowledge, the expertise, the leadership that our students are bringing with them from their homes and their communities to our campus to inform the programming and the support services that we offer, because we want it to be unique, not antiquated, not what we were doing 20 years ago, we're going to continue doing now. That doesn't work. So our programming, you'll find, changes every year because we want to hear from our students. So we're always asking our students, what are you finding beneficial? Where are you maybe not finding community? Where are you struggling? Where are you doing great in? And so you'll find in our Instagram, so again, about building community, we'll do these little reels where we ask our students to give us feedback that way. Like, oh, what have you been doing? What have you been up to this semester? Where do you still need support? And that helps us. So we really want, you as our students to provide us that information, engage with us in that way, because we're here to support you and respond to your needs. So that's how we build community at the Centro. And it might take a while for our students to feel comfortable. And on the opposite end, I've seen students come in and they felt, because I'm observing, right? As my office again, that space is so small. So sometimes I'm just listening as I'm in my office because it's like literally 2 feet away from the space. But sometimes I hear students connect right away and they're just like, wow, where has this space been this whole time? Because sometimes we get seniors that are coming in. They're like, I knew Centro existed, but I never came through. I was a little shy. Now I wish I would have come in earlier. So to all of our incoming frosh, especially our incoming frosh or incoming transfers, we encourage you, be brave, be bold, come to Centro, we'll connect you, we'll welcome you, and we'll work with one another. So we're here to work for you, but also with you. But especially then also our sophomores, our juniors, our graduate students, we also want to hear from everybody there. So we work with everyone. We're a small office, as you said, right, Teddy? We're small, but we're mighty, we're fierce, and we're ready to do some work. But we can't do it without our students. So this is an open invitation to our students to come and engage with us.
Yes, definitely. I think it's important to take that open invitation. Let me switch gears one more time. We talked about the community, and I know you alluded to in the beginning of how to be successful here. So let's go down that path now. What are some advice, because I know you are very proactive of bringing a lot of these supports and tips and things like that for students to be successful. So what tips can you share with us right now without going to El Centro?
So the first one is how we define success. Let's eliminate some of that pressure to begin with, right? Because when folks ask, what does it take to be successful? For me, success is very individual. The university has its own definition of what student success is. Our center is called a student success center, but we always allow our students to define success for themselves. Let us know what your personal goals are. What are your interests? What are you hoping to accomplish during your time here at San Jose State? Whether you're incoming frosh and you'll be here for 4 or 5, maybe 6 years, or whether you're a transfer student, you got a shorter time frame to be here, or graduate students. We want to know what is this experience? What do you want this experience to be for you? And that's where we work from. We operate from that place and from that grounding. Because if success is defined one measure for everybody, you had asked me in the question, like, how do we overcome failure? Well, I'll also say, I don't like that word. I don't like failure. It's a learning. I like to look at it as a learning experience, because if we start to use that deficit lens, like, oh, this was a failure. I'm a failure. I have all these mistakes. We're only going to beat ourselves up for it. We're our own worst critic. I'm talking about my own experience as an undergrad, comparing myself to my peers. That's the first strategy. Don't do that. Don't compare yourself to your peers. You are on your own unique journey to becoming. You're building that for yourself. You might not know what that is right now. And guess what? That's fine. That's okay. I just want to make sure that if you look back on tomorrow, that you're proud and happy of what you accomplished that day, and that was enough. Not just good enough, it was enough. Because again, all of us are carrying with us so many roles, responsibilities. The pandemic has impacted our families, our ways of living in so many different ways. And we're so hard on ourselves. I've seen our students just really, really struggling with, these high expectations. Yes, we have high expectations of our students, but we also need to show ourselves grace. That, knowing that I did what I could today. And if I didn't meet the goal that I had set up for myself, well, then maybe how do I reach out to my professor so that we can maybe reset some goals together? Maybe I didn't perform as well as I thought I did on this midterm. Well, then maybe maybe let's talk about that with my professor. What can I do differently? Talking to professors, I highly recommend that as a strategy. Yes, it's scary, but they're human, right? They're human beings too. They're just as scared of you as you're scared of them. I've heard that from them, especially if these are professors that are teaching a class of 300 students. You put yourself in front of 300 students. That's scary. It doesn't matter how many years you've been teaching. They're just as scared of you as you are of them. Don't be scared of them. They are there to support you. And if you need help on like, well, what kind of questions should I be asking? Come to us. We can help give you some tips or strategies on like the kind of questions that you could be asking your professors. Oftentimes it's like, how do I do better on the test? Well, there's other questions you should be asking, right? Like, okay, let's go back to the readings. Like what was something about the readings that maybe you wasn't as clear for you, or what did you let's start from what did you understand? So those are the kind of like, we coach students on those kind of things. Like, how do you talk to professors? So definitely talk to professors. We have an exciting program that will be relaunched in the fall semester, which is called our faculty and student dinner. And that gives students an opportunity to invite a professor, and you can choose any professor you'd like. And if you don't have a professor in mind, that's fine. We try to identify professors from different majors to come to this dinner to get to know our students better, and vice versa for our students to get to know their professors in a less intimidating format. So not in an enclosed office, but over dinner. Because at least in the Latinx community, food brings community together, right? Who doesn't enjoy a nice warm meal? And so we have that dinner coming up, hopefully in the fall, if COVID kind of stays, in a stable form, so we can come back together and have this dinner. But that's one strategy, is definitely reach out to your professors earlier than later. Another strategy I would say is, yes, ask for help. Do not hesitate to reach out for help. And it doesn't have to always be your professors. It could even be your peer. That's one thing that I learned from my undergrad, was making sure that I at least connected with my peers to let them know how I was doing. I wasn't always doing okay in undergrad, but I always had my friends there to support me. And building friendships was also not easy in undergrad, especially if you're a commuter student. So if you're not really on campus all that often, you probably just come to campus, go to class, go back home. You're like, how do I create those connections with my peers? You could do it in the classroom, right? Again, take a risk, turn to the person next to you, introduce yourself. And yeah, it may feel awkward, right? And that you might think to yourself, oh, people are going to think I'm weird. Who's this person introducing themselves? Take a risk, introduce yourself. That other person might be thinking the same thing. And you're creating those connections in the classroom. And now you have a peer that you can reach out to when you're, stumbling upon an assignment that you're just like, I don't know what to do with this assignment. Create study groups. And that's how you do that in the classroom. So ask for help, reach out to your professors, and then take advantage of any extracurricular opportunity on campus, which there are many of. That was one of my regrets, that I didn't do that until I was a senior. So engaging in whether it's a student club or engaging with one of our many campus departments, Mosaic, the Pride Center, we have the Black Leadership Opportunity Center, careers. I mean, there's so many resources on our campus. If you're logged into the SAMI app, you'll be able to see every department that exists on our campus. I think most of us have Instagram. Connect with one of those centers, and you'll see a world of a difference in terms of your engagement, helps with your sense of belonging on campus, and those can also lead to employment opportunities. So that's how I ended up fast. And I think you were going to ask me this, Teddy, too, later, but that's how Lily got to where Lily is today. So I did not seek academic advising until my senior year, when I realized I was behind, or I was short 8 units to graduate. So I applied to graduate. They're like, nope, denied. You're still 8 units short. And I was already taking a full load of classes. I'm like, how am I going to squeeze in another class? So I looked to my friend Erasmo, and Erasmo told me, you can actually intern at El Centro, but not at San Jose State. This was at UC Santa Cruz, where I did my undergrad. And he's like, you can intern there and get academic credit. I'm like, well, what do you do as an intern? He's like, you put a bunch of cool events together for the Latino community. And I'm like, really? And you get academic credit for that? He's like, yeah. Okay, well, he walked me over. I met with the director. The director told me about the internship. Voila, Lily became an intern. I got my academic credit. I was able to graduate. But then guess what? I didn't want to leave anymore. I found community for the first time in 4 years. I'm like, where has this place been? Where has this resource been all 4 years? Like, I finally found myself connected to a community that looked like me, that sounded like me, that had same values, right? Same interests. So connecting with the campus resources is so incredibly important. So I would definitely encourage you to do that, because that could also lead to employment opportunities. So after Lily interned, I didn't want to leave. The director invited me to apply to the program coordinator position because that individual had just left. So the program coordinator position was open and imposter syndrome hit. I'm like, what is she looking at me? Why? I've only interned here for a couple quarters. What is it about me that she's seen? And she says that I could do this. So I didn't want to do it. Everybody else was encouraging me to do it. Okay, I applied. Guess what? I got it. So that was my introduction to higher education. So I was the program coordinator for El Centro at UC Santa Cruz. And then from there became an EOP advisor. From there, it came over to San Jose State. And now I get to lead the Chicanx Latinx Student Success Center as a director. So I feel like I came full circle, right? As a student intern, as a program coordinator, advisor, and now get to direct to do this work. All because I engaged in a campus resource. So there's just so much magic that can come from being engaged. All we need to do, and for our students, is just take that risk. If someone invites you, just accept that invitation, because you never know the opportunities that will result as of you just being able to say, okay, sure. I don't know what this is going to mean for me, but more than likely it'll probably be something positive. And if it's not a good experience, you move on to the next. Like we mentioned, our Office in Student Involvement, Centro is right next door. So we're right next door to the Office of Student Involvement, and they oversee and help support over 400 student clubs, right? So if there's not one club that you find community with, I'm sure there's another one that you'll find community with. And we work very closely with our Latinx student clubs, which we have about 20 or so right now that are recognized student clubs that identify as Latinx. So if you're interested in working or learning more about those, we do work very closely with them. And we have like a meet and greet program in the fall semester to get to know those organizations. Get involved. So that's what I would say about just getting connected, strategies, meet with your professors, ask for help, get connected to campus opportunities.
Finally, how do they take up on your invitation to visit y'all? How do we get a hold of you? How do we find y'all? Where are y'all at?
Yes. So we are inside of the student union. So we're central to campus, which is nice. So main floor, first floor, room 1340. Again, look at Jamba Juice, 180 turn, we're right there. And you just enter the space and you will be welcomed by one of our staff members. So that's one way to find us. You could also find us online. So we have our website, which we'll put the link here probably somewhere on the video so you could see our website, which will list all the events that we're doing each year, including more about our programs and our services, other resources in the community, so off campus, such as scholarships, internships, employment opportunities. As I mentioned, a lot of our Latinx alum want to come back and offer opportunities to our students. So they're constantly giving me job opportunities or internship opportunities. So we post those on our website, as well as scholarships. Y'all, there's a lot of money out there. Y'all just need to apply for it. So we list those scholarships on our website, and then all of our social media handles are there as well. But we have our YouTube channel, we have our Instagram account, and we also have our Facebook. So there's various ways to find us, to get connected. It doesn't just have to be the physical space. Follow us on the YouTube, follow us on the Instagram. Our students are super active. It's not me. It's some of it is Elisa. Mostly it's our student leaders that post all the fun stuff. We're not on TikTok. That's the only thing we're not on. We're not on Snapchat. Is there anything else? Oh, Twitter. We're not on Twitter. No, I think Instagram is our primary way of connecting on social media.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. We will make sure we put all the information and share it with everybody. Thank you so much, Lily.
Thanks, Teddy.